Hare Krishna, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is Krishna Bhagavan Das, and I am so glad you're here with us as we reach what feels like the ultimate spiritual summit of our entire series.
Hey, Kṛṣṇa, and I am Radhya Devidasi. It's a joy to have you with us for this final, conclusive deep dive. We're calling it the eternal conclusion of BTG 008.
We are.
And this is really where all the threads of philosophy, they all weave together into one single unified truth.
That's such a great way to put it. Our mission today is to synthesize everything. We've spent the last two sessions establishing the fundamental identity of Śrī Krishna.
Right.
And now we have to use the profound authority of the Bhagavad Gita to achieve the ultimate spiritual conclusion, the Vaikhava Siddhanta.
Exactly. And you should think of this deep dive not just as a concluding summary, but as an essential tool for spiritual vision. We've moved beyond Arjuna's initial confusion.
We've laid the groundwork.
We've laid the philosophical foundation. And now the Gita provides that final clarity. It's about removing all that residual material doubt, establishing why we have to move beyond just sort of acknowledging Krishna as great, to understanding the absolute necessity of pure bhakti, pure devotion, as the only way to reach his eternal existence.
Okay, let's unpack that. I mean, if we're going to achieve the complete Siddhanta, we have to start by recollecting the massive conclusions from our earlier deep dives.
It's essential.
This continuity isn't just for review, is it? It's part of the structure of realization itself. We have to know where we came from to really appreciate the final destination.
That's it. Let's begin there.
So for those who've been on this journey with us, the focus of the previous deep dives was all about establishing that foundational identity. We were really tackling the question, who is the ultimate authority in the universe?
And we found that the Bhagavad Gita gives an absolutely unassailable answer. If you synthesize the conclusions from BTG 006, the core insight is that Krishna is the absolute non-negotiable origin and controller of everything.
Yes, the first major theme we established was his absolute supremacy in origin. We saw in verses like 10.8 that he declares, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. He's the Sanatanam Brja.
The original seed.
The original seed. And this completely refutes any idea of him being, a subordinate demigod or some kind of elevated human being.
And then the profound takeaway there was that if he is the supreme source, then it logically follows that he must also be the supreme controller and maintainer.
Right.
Nature, the entire cosmic operating system, it works entirely under his direct supervision. That means the law of karma, the movement of the planets, even the cycle of the seasons. They aren't random.
Not self-actuated.
No, they're sustained by him moment to moment.
And maybe the most practical conclusion we drew was his role as the supreme proprietor and universal father. The Gita tells us that all acts of sacrifice, all worship, it ultimately reaches him.
And even more intimately, he's the giver of the spiritual seed to all species.
So if we accept all these points, that Krishna is the source, the controller, the proprietor, and the father, we start to move from just a philosophical understanding to a more relational intimacy.
Yes. You move from acknowledging some vague, all-powerful force to recognizing a Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is confirmed by Arjuna and all the ancient sages.
And the essence there was really establishing the supreme manifestation of God. The Gita is crystal clear. There is no truth superior to him.
None.
So if that's our accepted foundation, the focus of this conclusive deep dive has to deepen.
Yeah.
You have to go from who he is to how he exists, where he resides, and crucially, why we fail to see him.
Precisely. We need to dismantle those remaining material misconceptions. The structure of this conclusion is designed to really solidify his transcendence and his relationship with us. And we'll do that by addressing 7 key areas.
Okay, so we're going to discuss his eternal spiritual abode, his transcendence beyond Māyā and the material modes, his 2 fundamental energies, his role as the intimate sustainer. What else? His limitless opulences, the vibhutis.
The overwhelming demonstration of the universal form, the Viśvarūpa.
And finally, the divine nature of his appearance and his activities. Wow. It's a journey into absolute spiritual reality.
And that's where we have to start, with the concept of reality itself.
When we think about the material world, we know it's temporary. I mean, everything we see, from mountains to great empires, is all subject to creation and then destruction.
Yeah, it is.
We see the gross physical world, and we might understand there's a subtle world of mind and intelligence. But where is the permanent reality? What is the actual goal of all spiritual effort?
This is where the Bhagavad Gita guides us beyond those temporary cycles of material manifestation. In chapter 8, verse 20, Kṛṣṇa introduces the supreme unmanifest reality. He calls it Bhavonyo Vyakto Sanatana.
Okay, that verse is fundamentally critical.
It is, because it establishes a third, superior plane of existence.
Wait, let's pause there and just clarify. The Gita already mentioned an unmanifest reality, right? That's the pradhana, the dormant state of material elements before creation. So what makes this new reality different?
That is an excellent point, and it's crucial for clarity. The material unmanifest, the pradhana, is temporary. Think of it like a computer hard drive that gets completely shut down during a cosmic annihilation.
Okay.
It's dark, it's dormant, and it's still subject to the cycle of time. It's going to be switched back on and eventually destroyed again. But the reality Kṛṣṇa introduces here is sanatana. It's eternal.
Ah, I see the distinction now. So the supreme unmanifest reality is the eternal dimension. It's completely untouched by those cosmic cycles. It's the spiritual home, the Ukota Dhamma.
Precisely. The verse declares, beyond this manifest and unmanifest material nature is yet another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and never annihilated. This establishes that spiritual existence isn't a temporary state or, some void we dissolve into.
Right.
It's a permanent realm of being. This immediately refutes that impersonal idea that liberation just means becoming nothing. Liberation is existence in this higher reality.
And the destination isn't just permanent, it's explicitly defined as belonging to him. In the very next verse, he calls it the imperishable supreme destination, Pranagatim and Paramamamadhamma, my supreme abode.
And that personalization is absolutely paramount. The goal isn't an abstract state of nothingness, but a very defined destination, an abode that belongs to the Supreme Person. But the key phrase, the definitive sign of actual liberation, is ya prapyana nivartante. One who reaches it never returns. This is the guarantee.
The guarantee of permanent eternal freedom from samsara, the cycle of birth and death.
Yes. Any temporary attainment, even going to the heavenly planets, means you eventually come back. This eternal abode means permanent residence.
That's a powerful promise.
Yeah.
And just to make sure we don't mistake this supreme abode for, some kind of material heaven, we have to look at how he describes its nature in chapter 15.
The ultimate proof of its non-materiality is its description as self-luminous. Kṛṣṇa says, Natad pasayate suryo na shishuko na pavaka. This abode is not dependent on the material world's light sources.
So not the sun, not the moon, not fire.
None of them.
That's a profound thought. I mean, we live in a world where our whole reality is defined by light and shadow, heat and energy generated by stars. And Kṛṣṇa is telling us that his eternal home is illuminated by a completely different physics.
By spiritual consciousness. By his own effulgence.
Wow.
It confirms its purely spiritual essence. The Siddhanta here is foundational. The final goal of life is not some impersonal merging into an abstract light, but achieving eternal existence in Kṛṣṇa's personal self-effulgent abode.
The Vaikuka or Golokadhamma.
A real place, maintained by purely spiritual energy.
Okay, so if the spiritual abode is beyond material physics, then the controller who resides there must, by logic, be beyond material qualities as well.
He must be.
So if Kṛṣṇa created the material world, and he maintains all the cosmic cycles, how does he remain completely untouched by the very mechanism he controls? This is the issue of transcendence.
We can begin by understanding his position relative to all other elevated beings. In chapter 10, Kṛṣṇa removes any ambiguity about seniority. He states, neither the demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for I am the source of them all.
Which means even the beings at the very, very top of the material ladder, Brahma, Shiva, the ancient Vedic sages who have mastered all knowledge, even they cannot truly calculate or comprehend his full origin.
Not by their own intellect or their austerities or their accumulated piety.
No.
This immediately establishes that he is not known by speculation or calculation. It's a kind of spiritual hubris to think that our finite minds, which are products of his material energy, could ever fully grasp the infinite.
That makes perfect sense. If the most illuminated beings can't know him fully, how can we, the conditioned souls, just expect to figure him out? The path has to be different.
The path must be different because we are covered by Māyā, and specifically by the three Guṇas, the modes of material nature. This is the great veil.
Right.
And in chapter 7, he addresses this delusion by the three Guṇas. He says the world is utterly bewildered by these three modes: goodness, sattva, passion, rajas, and ignorance, tamas.
And the modes aren't inherently evil, are they? They're just the conditions of material nature.
Exactly. Goodness might lead to happiness, but it still binds you to the cycle of karma. Passion binds you to fruit of action. Ignorance binds you to madness and delusion.
And These three conditions prevent the world from recognizing Krishna, who is Mam Ifyaparam Avyam, beyond these modes, nirguna, and imperishable.
The key insight is that Māyā is like the spiritual software that runs this temporary material universe, and we are caught inside the code.
I like that analogy.
Kṛṣṇa is the programmer. He's standing outside of the system, observing and controlling it. He is nirguna, which means he possesses no material qualities, only transcendental spiritual qualities.
This distinction just removes that residual material conception of God. Any attempt to define Krishna as someone subject to material time or space or qualities is just delusion caused by the Guṇas.
Yes, the Gita is telling us, stop trying to calculate me using material intelligence. You have to approach me through devotion, which is a transcendental activity.
When we understand that Krishna is beyond the material structure, it makes perfect sense that he is also the ultimate source and controller of all the forces that govern that structure, his energies.
That's the next step.
So we need to understand how the spiritual and material realms actually interact. If everything is ultimately Krishna's energy, how is reality structured? This is where the concept of the two energies becomes so vital.
Kṛṣṇa clarifies everything by dividing existence into two fundamental categories of energy. The first is the inferior material energy, which he describes in chapter 7, verse 4.
The eightfold separated material energy.
Exactly. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego.
That list is so significant because it includes the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, false ego, right alongside the gross physical elements.
It does.
So both our physical shell and our temporary psychological identity are considered inferior energy. They're non-conscious by nature.
Correct. And that's why the material world is defined by suffering. Our suffering begins when the conscious superior soul identifies with the temporary non-conscious false ego and then tries to dominate that inferior energy.
But then Krishna introduces the game changer in the very next verse, which defines us in relation to matter.
Yes. He says, besides this inferior nature, there is another, superior energy of mine, the living beings, the jiva bhuta by which the entire universe is sustained.
The jiva, the living being, that's you, the listener, and me. We are the superior energy because we're conscious, we're eternal, we possess that spiritual spark.
And we sustain the universe not by, holding up planets, but by providing the consciousness and the desire that drives all activity within it.
The Siddhanta here is intensely practical. Our natural constitutional position as the soul, the jiva, is superior to matter, and we're meant for eternal service seva to Krishna.
But when we try to become the master of the material energy, the superior trying to enjoy the inferior, that is the very definition of bondage.
That realization is a real aha moment. My suffering isn't just due to bad luck, it's because of a false premise, the superior soul trying to dominate the inferior energy.
Exactly.
But if Krishna controls both the matter we use and the soul that uses it, this implies he can't be a distant, detached manager. He must be intimately involved.
He is, incredibly so.
We often reduce the idea of God to this sort of distant cosmic clockmaker who wound up the universe and just left. But the Bhagavad Gita completely destroys that limited perspective. It shows Krishna's involvement down to our minute-to-minute internal operations.
Let's look at his three intimate roles as the sustainer. First, he is the original seed and strength. He says, Bija ma sarva bhutana vidipartha sanatanam.
He is the Sanatanam Bija, the eternal original seed of all existence.
Yes. Every manifestation, every law of nature, every principle derives its very existence from him. He is the potential.
Like a seed containing the blueprint for an entire tree.
A perfect analogy. He is the spiritual essence that allows anything to manifest or even hold together. And he also explicitly states, he is the intelligence of the intelligent and the strength of the strong.
The application there is humility then. When you have a moment of brilliant clarity, or you do something with immense strength or skill, you have to realize that the very capacity for that is his gift.
It's a borrowed spark. No one is independently intelligent or powerful, and when that power is channeled toward dharma, toward righteous purpose, it becomes truly divine.
Okay, now let's talk about the physical body. This next role is, I think, arguably the most astonishing proof of intimacy in the entire Gita. Krishna sustains life from within by becoming the digestive fire, Vaishnara.
This is the micromanager of our physical existence, Krishna says. I become the digestive fire within all living beings, and balancing the life airs, I digest the 4 kinds of food.
So our ability to process energy, to assimilate nutrients, the very function that keeps us alive, It's directly dependent on Krishna acting as our internal physical engine.
We take digestion for granted, but we rely on this daily miracle.
The 4 kinds of food chewed, licked, swallowed, sucked. To coordinate that whole biological process. The enzymes, the acids, the timing.
And to ensure the proper balancing of the incoming and outgoing airs, the pra and apana, which is required for digestion to even happen. This is the intimate physical proof that he is indispensable for our survival.
Moment to moment, it elevates the act of eating into a spiritual acknowledgement. We realize our body isn't just running on its own chemistry.
It's running because Krishna, out of pure compassion, is managing the central engine.
And finally, the spiritual aspect. He is the super soul in the heart, Paramatma. Sarvasya Katha Hari Sanivyo. I am seated in everyone's heart.
And from him come memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness.
That's fascinating. Why forgetfulness?
Well, because the jiva soul in the material world often desires independence from Krishna. So to allow the soul to play the game of temporary material enjoyment, Krishna, as the Paramatma, facilitates that forgetfulness.
So he's the impartial witness.
And the ultimate guide. He sanctions our desires, but he also provides the knowledge we need when we finally turn back toward him.
That's immense intimacy. If you combine these 3 roles, the foundational cause is the seed, the internal physical engine is the digestive fire, and the spiritual friend is Paramatma, you realize Krishna sustains all life.
Externally, internally, and intimately. He is not just transcendent, he is fully immanent.
And this realization of intimacy, it really prepares us for the realization of his scope. If he is this deeply involved, his majesty must be truly limitless.
And that's where we go next.
We live in a world that is obsessed with excellence. We praise beauty, power, genius. We practically create demigods out of our heroes. The Vibhuti chapter 10, completely reframes how we should look at excellence.
It does. It removes the seeds of both pride and envy.
How so?
It shifts the object of our admiration from the temporary display to the eternal source. In verse 39, Krishna unequivocally asserts his role as the generating principle. He says, I am the bija, the seed principle of all existence, whether moving or non-moving.
And this leads to that definitive statement of absolute dependence. Natad asti vina yatsyan Māyā. Nothing, he insists, absolutely nothing exists without me.
This is the foundation of reality. Krishna isn't just the origin, he's the continuous sustaining cause of every single element and every force in the entire cosmos.
But the descriptions of his greatness, he's the sun among lights, the sacred syllable AUM, consciousness and living beings, they can sound exhaustive.
They can, and that's why in verse 40, Krishna sets the record straight about the infinite nature of his glories. He says, my divine opulences are ananta, endless, limitless.
That is incredibly humbling. We realize that the extensive list he just provided, him being the ocean, the mountain, the greatest of men, that's only a brief indication.
Udishata prokto. Our human language and our finite intellect can never truly catalog or exhaust the greatness of the Supreme Lord.
And this leads to the ultimate transformative insight, the one that should change how we view the world every single day.
Yes, the principle of the spark of splendor in verse 41. Yad yad vivasimad sattva shimad durjitam evava tattad evavagachat mamateshu sesambhavam.
This verse is the spiritual key to eliminating envy, isn't it? Any being or object that possesses extraordinary glory, beauty, power, or excellence
is born from but a spark of my splendor.
So every time we're awestruck by natural beauty, a sunset, a mountain range, or by human genius, an incredible symphony, a brilliant scientific breakthrough, we're just looking at a tiny reflection of Krishna's infinite energy.
The genius is not independent, it is borrowed light.
I find that incredibly freeing. It redirects your admiration. Instead of getting caught up in the temporary material excellence, which so often breeds pride in the one who have it and envy in the one who observes it, the devotee just sees Krishna behind the excellence. It's like admiring an incredible projected image, but understanding the real artistry isn't on the screen.
It's in the projector and the source of the film.
Exactly. It makes perfect sense then that after this philosophical description of infinite scope, Arjuna needed a final, overwhelming visual experience.
The Viśvarūpa. This spectacular demonstration designed to remove any lingering doubt about Krishna's actual universal position.
The universal form, detailed in chapter 11, it's a sudden, terrifying, and awe-inspiring display. It's the final, irrefutable evidence that Krishna isn't just a great sage or a powerful king.
He is the absolute Godhead. And the most important insight for you, the listener, comes in verse 15, where Arjuna describes what he sees. He says, "Oh Lord, I see all the demigods and various classes of beings within your body.
And he names them.
He names them. I see Lord Brahma seated on the lotus, Lord Siva, all the great sages, and the divine serpents.
That's the absolute proof of the hierarchy. If you see the creator, Brahma, and the maintainer, Siva, contained within Krishna's form, you immediately understand that Krishna is the ultimate source and shelter of all gods.
He is the container, they are the contained. This completely settles the theological question of whether Krishna is just one among many deities.
And the scale of the form is described as Ananta Rupam infinite. Arjuna sees it with unlimited arms, mouths, eyes.
And crucially, he sees no end, no middle, and no beginning.
This Ananta Rupam establishes his absolute omnipresence. It confirms he isn't bound by space or time. He transcends all material limitation. It's the form of the Viśvarūpa, the Lord of the entire cosmos.
And how do the celestial beings react to this vision? It's not just respect, it's terror. Verse 21 describes that hosts of demigods and perfected beings are overwhelmed by sheer fear, before this colossal form.
They're offering prayers with folded hands.
That emotional reaction highlights the vast difference in stature. The form is overwhelming, even to those who are materially enlightened. It's terrifying to those with residual pride or an independent mentality.
But it's ultimately the shelter for the humble and the devoted.
And after witnessing this spectacle, Arjuna is intellectually and emotionally conquered. His final verdict in verse 38 becomes the conclusive philosophical stamp of the whole chapter.
Right. He acknowledges Krishna as the supreme, imperishable reality to be known, the ultimate resting place of the universe, and the primeval Supreme Person.
This is Arjuna's final declaration. He's moved from a position of, affectionate familiarity to one of awe-filled worship and intellectual certainty.
The Viśvarūpa removes every possible material or skeptical conception of Krishna's Godhead. It confirms universal recognition of his absolute supremacy.
And when we synthesize this entire journey from the eternal abode to the infinite majesty, we arrive at the ultimate Siddhanta, the highest application of this knowledge.
We've established that Krishna is transcendent, beyond the material modes, residing in an eternal spiritual home. So why does the supreme, all-pervading Lord choose to descend into this temporary mortal world?
This is the final philosophical paradox that the Bhagavad Gita resolves, and it's answered in the beautiful practical verse 4.9, which discusses the transcendental birth and activities. Krishna states, Janma karma kama divyam.
His birth, janma, and gatas, his activities, karma, are spiritual. They're divyam. This is the critical separation from us, the conditioned soul.
Absolutely. Our birth is forced upon us by karma. Our actions create binding reactions. Krishna's appearance is done purely by his spiritual will and his internal potency.
So when he appears as the son of Vasudeva, or when he performs these great feats like lifting Govardhana Hill, those actions are entirely non-karmic.
They are purely spiritual pastimes, meant to attract the conditioned souls back home.
And this understanding, it's not just theoretical, is it? It's the key to liberation itself. It's right there in the second half of that verse.
Exactly. One who understands the divine nature of my birth and activities in truth, Tattva, does not take birth again, but comes to me.
This is the glorious practical conclusion. All the philosophy we've just covered, his eternal home, his transcendence, his energies, his infinite majesty, it all serves one purpose.
To help us recognize the divine nature of Kṛṣṇa as a person.
And understanding this truth, Tattva, in its reality, it guarantees liberation and return to his abode.
It means salvation is guaranteed not by massive austerity or vast intellectual study or huge charitable acts alone, but by a pure devotional understanding of Krishna's person and his activities. It's the realization that he is not one of us.
He is the source of all. It's the ultimate bridge from intellectual understanding, jnana, to a guaranteed result, bhakti.
It is.
So we've taken our listener through the 7 proofs of his supremacy, the 3 dimensions of reality, the dual energies, the 3 intimate roles of sustenance, and the overwhelming proof of his majesty. This is the complete Gita conclusion. What is the ultimate synthesized essence of this knowledge?
The final firm devotional conclusion, the Vaishnava is clear. Śrī Krishna is the eternally transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead. He resides in an imperishable spiritual abode. He stands completely beyond Māyā and the 3 gotas, controlling them effortlessly.
He's the source.
He is the original source of all energies and opulences, the intimate sustainer of all life down to the very function of our physical body, universally revealed as the cosmic form, and ultimately, he is only approachable and realized through pure, unalloyed bhakti, through devotion.
That's powerful. It's the realization that the absolute truth is a person, and that person is Krishna. The knowledge we've covered is the key to dissolving material illusion.
It is. The knowledge of Akara Dhamma removes the fear of annihilation. The knowledge of the Vibhutis removes pride and envy.
And the knowledge of Vaishnava and Paramatma confirms his intimate moment-to-moment presence in our lives.
And that realization is the prerequisite for the final provocative thought. The Gita is jnana, it's knowledge, but that knowledge is meant to trigger a spiritual transformation. We have intellectually understood the scope and the depth of Krishna's supremacy, and that means our worldview must fundamentally shift.
If you truly know Krishna as the Supreme Person, Tattva in reality, then the temporary nature of this world should start to lose its gripping attraction. The fear of death is broken because you know your eternal home is waiting.
So the question for you, the learner, to deeply reflect upon is this. Now that you have this intellectual and philosophical conviction of Krishna as the Supreme Person, what practical step, big or small, will you take today to align your consciousness with this truth?
How do you move this profound philosophical realization into the practical daily reality of pure devotion of Bhakti in your own life?
That practical action is the eternal conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita.
That is a profound and intensely practical question to end this deep dive. Thank you for joining us on this extensive exploration of the final philosophical conclusions of the Bhagavad Gita. The depth and the spiritual richness of these verses, they truly provide the complete spiritual roadmap.
It is our great pleasure and humble service to share this knowledge with you, dear listener. We hope that this synthesis provides clarity and a firm foundation for your own spiritual journey back to Krishna.
If you appreciate this humble effort, please like, share your feedback and comments, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family.
Until next time, we wish you continued progress on the path of devotion.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.